Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how you can create this responsive time tracking dashboard using nothing but HTML and pure CSS. So as you can see, as I resize my screen, it stays perfect without breaking, so it is fully responsive. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first I'm going to create an index.html and a style.css. Okay, so let's say explanation mark, hit tab, and we're going to link our CSS file here, so we can say link, and we're going to link our style sheet, so we can say style.css, and let's open it up with our live server. Okay, first we're gonna declare some variables here, so we can say :root, and I have already copied some variables, so let me just paste them. So these are basically some colors. If you want, you can pause the screen and copy it, or you can simply go to the video description and get the codes. So okay. Anyways, let's set our background to that blue color, so we can say body to have a background color. We're gonna use the background color variable, so we can say background color. Okay, now we're gonna have a container. So the container is basically a div that will wrap all this content. So let's say that container, and for now let's say hello, and here is the text, you can see it. So let's say body to have a color of white. Okay, now we can see it. So let's remove this little white space that we have. So for that we can say everything, we can target everything and remove the margin and padding. So we can say margin to 0 and padding to 0. And now if we save, you'll see this space will disappear like so. Now we want to center the containers, so basically everything inside the body should be centered here. So our body should have a display of flex, so we can say display of flex, and we can center everything horizontally by saying justify content to center, and this will center the content horizontally. Now we want to center it vertically. For that we use align items, so we can say align items, and it should be center as well. But if you do it, you see nothing is happening, because for right now this is the only content we have. So the height of our body is only this much, but we want our body to have as much space is available, so the full height of the window. So we can say HTML and body, both of them should have a minimum height of 100 viewport height, so 100 VH. And now if we save, as you can see, our contents is centered both horizontally and vertically. So let's see what else we have. Now we have this sidebar and this tracks, so let's create them. So we can say, actually before that, let's give our containers a background color so we can see it better. So we can say dot container, it should have a background color of, for now we can say white, so we can say hashtag FFF. And as you can see, this we only have this much height, this much width, so let me remove this color. But we want it to have more than, we want it to have about this much width. So for now let's say it should have a width of, let's say 800 pixel. Let's see how that looks. Okay, 800 pixel looks good. Okay, now we will have a div for this sidebar and a div for this tracks. So let's say inside the container we'll create a div with a class of sidebar, so we can say sidebar. For now let's say hello. Then we'll have a div called tracks, so .tracks tracks, and we can say hello here as well. Now we want them to be side by side, not on top of each other like this. So we can say the container should have a display of flex, so display of flex again, and now they're again side by side. So let's give them individually separate background color so we can see them. So we can say dot sidebar, Let's just give it a red background color, so background color of red, it became red. And same for the tracks, so dot tracks, let's give it a background color of blue. Okay, say background color of blue. Okay, now we want the tracks to have as much space is available so we can say flex grow, so flex dash grow to 1, and this will expand the tracks. As you can see, now the width became the available width. So we want some margin left here, so we can say margin left. The margin left should be, let's say, 1.5 em. And now we have this little separation here, so let's remove this white background. Okay, now our sidebar will have this background color, which is our simply dash background dash light, so this color. Inside that we have this section, I call it the profile, so let's call it profile here, so dot profile. In the profile we have an image, this text and the name, so let's create them. So let's say img, and let me just show you that I have an image called dp.png. This is this image, so I'm going to say image source equal to ./dp.png. okay, let's see. As you can see, we have the image, but it is very big, so let's go here and go to our profile, profile, and the image inside that should have, let's say, a height of 60 pixel and a width of 60 pixel as well, so width of 60 pixel. It should also have a border radius, so let's say border radius, a border radius of 50% will make it a perfect circle. It also had some border, so we can say border of, let's say, 3 pixel solid, and let's say white, like so. Okay, now our sidebar had some padding, so we can say padding of, let's say, 1.5 em. It also had some border radius, so we can say border radius of, let's say, 10 pixel. Okay, then we have this stats for text, so we can call it stats text, so stats stats text, and it says stats for. Okay, let's see. Okay, here is the text, let's style it. So let's copy the class, and this will have a font size of 0.8 em, and this will have a light white color, so we can say color of white, and let's make it a little lighter. So let's see out this, or maybe even more, so let's try this. Okay, I also want to change the font, so we can say body to have a font family of, I will be using Arial for this, so font family of Arial. Okay, now as you can see, we have some space between the image and text, so let's say our image to have a margin bottom, so we can say margin bottom of, let's say, 2 em. Okay, now below that we had our name, so let's copy the name, and here let's create another paragraph text, paragraph with a class of name, so dot name. Okay, let's style that as well, so we can say dot name. Let's give it a font size of, let's say, 1.5 em and a color of white, so we can say color to be #FFF. Okay, let's give it some margin top as well, so we can say margin top of, let's say, 0.3 em, actually we didn't have any margin top, so let's remove that, but you can keep it if you want it. So after that we have this text, we can call it, let's say, periods, or let's say times, whatever you want to say. So let's say div with a class of times. Inside that we have some paragraphs, so we have daily, copy it 2 more times. We have weekly, and we have monthly. So okay, we have them. Now our profile section, this section has a different color, so let's give it that color. So let's say dot profile, it should have this blue color, so we can say background color equals to dash dash color dash blue. Okay, now instead of, as you can see, we have this white space here. So what we have to do is, instead of saying our sidebar to have padding, so let's cut that. We're gonna say our profile should have the padding, so Ctrl V. And now this section, the time section, also needs that padding, so we can say dot times should also have the same amount of padding. Okay, let's give them some color. So you should have a color of, I'm gonna say RGBA, and it will be 255 255 255. So this is a white color, and it will have 50% opacity, so we can say 0.5. And as you can see, the middle one has brighter color or more opacity, so let's give it a class of active. So let's say class active. Now in our CSS we're gonna say dot times, inside that a paragraph that has a class of active should have, let's copy this color, let's add a semicolon here, copy, paste, and it should have more opacity, let's say 0.8 or 0.9, and it should also have some margin, so we can say margin to be top bottom 5 em and left right should be 0. Oops, it should be 0.5 em and left right 0. And these corners also need to be rounded, so you can say the profile to have a border radius of same as the sidebar, which is 10 pixel. Okay, it should be border radius, so border radius, and now it is looking kind of like this, whatever sidebar that we had. Actually it had less padding on top and bottom, so if you want it, you could simply say it should have a padding of 1 em from top and bottom, so we can say 1 em. So now it is looking more like what we had here. And now we have to create these cards. So inside the tracks we're going to, I have called this track item, so let's say dot track item, and for now let's say hello. And we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 of them, so let's copy it 5 more times. So 1 2 3 4 5, and we have this. Now we want them to be a 3 by 2 grid, so we can say, where is that, so our tracks should have a display of grid, so we can say display of grid, and we're going to say grid template columns to be repeat 3 and 1 fr. As you can see, now we have a 3 by 2 grid, so let's remove this blue color here and let's target our track item. So let's say track dash item. It should have a background color of white, so let's say background color of shift hashtag FFF, and let's have some space between them, so we can say grid gap, so we can say read gap of, let's say, 1.5 em, and they also need some border radius, so let's say border radius of 10 pixel. So border radius of 10 pixel, and they had this same color as the sidebar, so you can say background color to a dash dash background dash light. Okay, and the color should be white, so we can say color to be #FFF. Okay, now let's see what we have. So inside that, first we have this nav or something, let's call it nav. So we can say dot nav. Inside that, first we'll have the title of the track, so let's create a span for that. So span, and we're gonna call it work. Inside the text will be work, and we're going to have another span with this 3 dots. So you can use an icon, but since we only have one icon, I'm not using any SVG or something. I'm simply going to say 3 dots like so. Now let's style them in our CSS. So first let's give our card some padding as well, so we can say padding of 1 em, and let's style the nav. So we can say dot track item, and inside that we have a nav. It should have a display of flex again, so display of flex, and we're gonna say justify content to space between, so this and this stays at the left and right side. So justify content to space between, it should be justify content should be space between, so space between, and this one should be a little above, so it is centered both horizontally and vertically. So we can say inside the nav, let's copy this. Inside that we have 2 span, and when to target the second span, so we can say nth child 2, and let's give it some margin top. We'll give a negative margin top, so let's say negative 0.3 em, and as you can see, it is now almost centered vertically. So let's give it a font weight of bold, so we can see it better. So font weight of bold or bolder. Okay, after that we have this text, so we can call it time text or just time. So we can say p dot time, so time, and we have, let's say, 32 hour. So let's style that as well, so we call it time. So inside the time track items, so we can say track item dot time, and it should have a font size of 2 em for example, and a margin top, so margin top of, let's say, 0.5 em, and then we have this text, so let's call it previous. So dot previous, p dot previous, and let's say last week. Now let's style it in our CSS as well, so it has a class of previous, so let's copy this. So we can say dot track item dot previous, it should have a light color, so let's say color of #FFF, and now, or we can just copy this color, so let's copy this, Ctrl V, and just copy it 6 more times and see how it looks. So we are going to copy it 5 more times, so 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now they're looking the same. So now we have this white or colored borders like of thing. We're gonna use the after pseudo element to do that, so we're gonna say dot track item shift colon after, and we're gonna say content to be an empty string. It will have a height and width same as the card, so you can say height of 100%, a width of 100%, a display of block, so we can say display of block. For now, let's just give it a background color of red, so background color red. So as you can see, they are kind of breaking the layout, so we can give them a position of absolute, so position to be absolute. But to give them an absolute positioning, our card item track item needs to have a position of relative, so position relative. And now we can say top to 0 and the left to 0, so left 0. But in our case, these elements were a little above this track, so we can say them to have a top of, let's say, negative 15 pixels, so there will be 15 pixels above the time track. And we can see the contents now, so we can say z index to be -1, so z index of -1, and they should also have a border radius of 10 pixels, so let's say border radius 10 pixel. Okay, now they just need to be different colors, so let's say dot track item, so dot track item colon nth child, so in child we're gonna say the first child and colon after, and this should have a background color of, let's see, we had a background color of orange, so let's just say dash color dash orange. The second one has a blue color, so we can just copy this. Let's copy it 5 more times, so 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, the second one has a blue color, so let's say second color dash light blue, so color dash light dash blue. The third one has a red color, so color dash red. The fourth one has a green color, so color dash green. And then we have the purple, and lastly we have a yellow. Let's see. Okay, this should be the third element, the fourth element, the fourth item, the fifth item, and the sixth. Okay, now as you can see, they are again breaking the layout, so we can simply go to our track item and give them a margin top of 15 pixels, so margin top of 15 pixel. Okay, and now as you can see in the demo, when we hover on the card, they kind of elevate, so we can say when we hover on the track item, so the track item shift colon hover, and when we hover, the after element should have a top of -30 pixel. Okay, now as you can see, when we hover, they kind of elevates, but they elevates all on a sudden, but we want to transition them, so we can say the after element should have a transition of top, and the time should be, let's say, 0.3 seconds, so 0.3 second. And now if we save it, as you can see, this kind of animates. Okay, what else do we have? Now we just have to make it responsive. So for right now it is not responsive, so let's make it responsive. So first thing we'll do is, in the display grid, instead of saying repeat 3, we're gonna say auto fit, so auto dash fit, and we're gonna use the min max function, so min max. And the minimum width should be, let's say, 150 pixel, and the maximum should be 1 fr. Okay, let's see what happened. Auto fit. Okay, it should be min max without the hyphen. So as you can see, if we have enough space, we have 3 cards in a row. So if we have, let's say, more than 450 pixel of width, then this one will be 150 pixel, this one will be 150, and this one will be 150. But what if we had only, let's say, 400 pixel of width here, then this one will be 200 pixel and this one will be 200 pixel, and the next one will come in bottom here. So that's how the min max should work. And now as you can see, the container is sometimes getting squashed, so we don't want that. So let's do a media query. So for now we have a fixed width here, so we are gonna say the width to be 100%, and let's give it some margin, so we can say margin of 3 em. Now we don't want it to take 100% width. As you can see, this does not look that good, so we can say it will have a max width of 800 pixels. So now in the bigger screen the width will be a maximum of 800 pixel. But if we shrink, as you can see, it shrinks according to the screen size. So let's see what next we have. Okay, on smaller screen, as you can see, this sidebar takes 100% of the width, so let's do that. So we can go to here and say, let's do a media query. So we can say at medias, we're gonna say max width of, let's say, 630 pixels. So all the screen that has a size of less than 360 pixel, for them we can say our container. So container should have a flex direction of column, so we can say flex direction of column. So now if we shrink our screen, resize our screen, as you can see on small screen it takes 100% of the width. Now we have to remove this margin, so we can say dot, we call it tracks, so dot tracks, and our tracks should have a margin left of 0, and our sidebar should have some margin on the bottom, so we can say dot sidebar to have a margin bottom of, let's say, 1.5 em. Okay, let's see what happened. It should be 1.5 em. Okay, let's make it 680. So as you can see, it is working perfectly as we intended, and these animates and everything is fully responsive. So okay guys, I hope you learned something from this video. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.